So, for over 40 years, California lived with a ghost. A predator who broke into homes in the dead of night, attacked families while they slept, and vanished without a trace. He committed at least 13 murders, over 50 rapes, and more than 100 burglaries across multiple counties. Police had his DNA. They had sketches. They had voicemail recordings of him taunting victims. But they couldn't find him. Then in 2018, investigators tried something that had never been done before in a criminal case. They uploaded his DNA to a genealogy website, and it led them straight to Joseph James DeAngelo, a 72-year-old former police officer living quietly in a Sacramento suburb. This is the story of how a serial killer hid for 4 decades, and how a family tree finally caught him. It started in 1974 in the town of Visalia, California. Someone was breaking into homes, ransacking them, and stealing small items: coins, photographs, personal keepsakes. Police called him the Visalia Ransacker. Over the course of 2 years, he hit over 100 homes. Then in 1975, he escalated. He shot and killed a college professor named Claude Snelling, who confronted him while he was trying to kidnap Snelling's daughter. After that murder, the Visalia Ransacker disappeared. 2 years later, in 1976, a new predator emerged, 2 hours north in Sacramento. This one was different. He didn't just ransack homes. He waited inside for people to come home, or he broke in while they were sleeping. He would wake his victims by shining a flashlight in their faces, tie them up, and terrorize them for hours. Sometimes he raped. Sometimes he just stole and left. His MO was meticulous. He cut phone lines before entering. He brought pre-cut lengths of rope. He studied his victims' routines for weeks before attacking. And he always wore a mask. Investigators called him the East Area Rapist. Between 1976 and 1979, he attacked at least 50 victims across Sacramento, Contra Costa, and surrounding areas. Survivors described him as a young white male, maybe late 20s, athletic build, with a high-pitched voice. Some said he cried during the attacks or muttered to himself. One victim remembered him whispering, "I hate you, Bonnie," under his breath, suggesting some personal trauma driving his violence. Despite massive task forces, neighborhood watches, and police stakeouts, he was never caught. And then in 1979, he vanished from Northern California completely. Investigators thought maybe he'd been arrested for something else, moved away, or died. But he hadn't stopped. He had just moved. In late 1979, a series of murders began in Southern California. Couples were being attacked in their homes in Orange County, Ventura County, and eventually Irvine. The killer would break in at night, tie up both victims, rape the woman, and then murder them both, usually by bludgeoning them to death. The brutality was extreme. These crimes were linked by DNA, but investigators didn't initially connect them to the East Area Rapist up north. They called this new killer the original Night Stalker. Between 1979 and 1986, the original Night Stalker murdered at least 10 people. Then in 1986, he stopped completely. No more attacks, no more murders, nothing. Decades passed. The cases went cold, but investigators never forgot. In 2001, DNA technology had advanced enough that crime labs were able to definitively link the East Area Rapist cases in Northern California to the original Night Stalker cases in Southern California. They were the same person. One predator responsible for over 50 rapes and at least 13 murders across the entire state. They gave him a new name, the Golden State Killer. Still, despite the DNA evidence, there were no matches in any criminal database. Whoever he was, he had never been arrested for a serious crime that required DNA submission. The case remained frozen. Then in 2017, investigator Paul Holes had an idea. Genealogy websites like 23andMe and Ancestry.com allowed people to upload their DNA to find relatives. What if they uploaded the Golden State Killer's DNA to one of these sites and used distant relatives to build a family tree backward to identify him? It had never been done in a criminal investigation before, but Paul Holes was retiring soon, and this case had haunted him for decades. He had to try. The team uploaded the killer's DNA to GEDmatch, a free genealogy site. They got hits: distant cousins, third and fourth degree relatives. Then they worked with a genealogist named Barbara Ray Venter to build out family trees from those distant matches. They traced branches forward through generations, looking for a man who would have been the right age in the 1970s and 1980s, who lived in the right areas of California during the crime sprees. One name kept appearing: Joseph James DeAngelo. Born 1945, former police officer, worked as a cop in Exeter during the Visalia ransacker period, then became a cop in Auburn, a town near Sacramento, right when the East Area rapist attacks began. He was fired from the Auburn Police Department in 1979 for shoplifting dog repellent, the same year the attacks stopped in Northern California and started in Southern California, where DeAngelo had moved. Everything fit, but they needed confirmation. So in April 2018, investigators followed DeAngelo and collected discarded DNA from his trash and his car door handle. They ran it against the Golden State Killer's DNA. It was a match. On April 24, 2018, police arrested Joseph James DeAngelo outside his home in Citrus Heights, a quiet suburb of Sacramento. He was 72 years old, a grandfather, and had been living an unremarkable life for decades. Neighbors described him as odd, sometimes angry, but no one suspected he was one of California's most prolific serial killers and rapists. During the investigation, detectives discovered DeAngelo had kept trophies: jewelry, driver's licenses, and photographs stolen from victims. He had held on to these items for over 40 years. When confronted in the interrogation room, DeAngelo pretended to be confused and frail, mumbling and acting far older than he was. But recordings from his jail cell caught him moving normally, doing push-ups, and speaking clearly when he thought no one was listening. In June 2020, Joseph DeAngelo pled guilty to 13 counts of first-degree murder and dozens of other charges. Because California had temporarily suspended the death penalty, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. During his sentencing hearing, survivors and family members of victims confronted him directly. Many had waited over 40 years for this moment. DeAngelo sat emotionless, occasionally glancing up but showing no remorse. Joseph James DeAngelo is currently serving his sentence at California State Prison in Corcoran. He will die in prison. The man who terrorized an entire state for over a decade, who hid in plain sight as a police officer and then as a grandfather, was finally caught by the very thing he left behind at every crime scene: his DNA. The Golden State Killer case changed criminal investigations forever. Today, genealogy DNA is used regularly to solve cold cases across the country. Dozens of murders and rapes that sat unsolved for decades have now been cracked using the same technique that caught Joseph DeAngelo. He thought he had gotten away with it. He was wrong. If this case fascinated you as much as it did me, hit that subscribe button for more true crime deep dives. And drop a comment below. Do you think using genealogy websites to catch criminals is a privacy violation or brilliant detective work? Thanks for watching.